In this example, I've got two physical switches that have been erased and rebooted. This is a 3750 switch. Notice it's running 3750 software. And scrolling down, you can see that it's a 3750 48 port powered switch. This switch is a similar switch. So let's give the switch a name. Switch 2. The switch we'll call switch 1. Show CDP neighbor. Switch 1 is connected to switch 2 on fast Ethernet 101 and 102, but it's also configured to another switch, 2950. And that can cause problems when you add a new switch to the topology. In this example, the switch has automatically learnt the VTP domain and has learnt about existing VLANs from the 2950 switch. This switch has learnt the domain CCNA, and it's operating as a client. So some things to be careful of in the real world. Show interface F101 switch port. Be careful about the DTP modes used on your switches. Here it's dynamic order. Here it's using dynamic order. If another switch in the topology is configured to use dynamic desirable or is configured statically for trunking, the new switch may automatically form a trunk with the current switches in your network, and then through VTP learn about the VTP domain and automatically be configured with the relevant VLANs. Also be aware that when you erase a switch, you don't just erase the startup config. You also need to delete the VLAN.dat file. The VLAN.dat file stores the VLAN configuration information. So you have to delete the VLAN.dat file as well as erase the configuration of the switch. So as an example on this switch, more flash VLAN.dat, we can see some information stored in the VLAN.dat file. We should delete the VLAN.dat file, confirm the deletion, and then erase the startup config of the switch, and then reload the switch without saving the config. And we should do the same here. Don't save the config, reload the switch. The problem is, these switches may automatically relearn the VLAN information from neighboring switches if those switches are configured to use DTP. So once again, you may prefer using a VLAN transparent mode in your network to get around all of these little issues that you may encounter with VTP. I'm going to pause the video at this point so that we can give those switches a chance to reboot, and then I'll show you that they would have relearnt information from neighboring switches. So, switch initial configuration dialog is displaying because the switch has been erased. There's no configuration on the switch. Show VTP status. Switch is running as a server, but notice it's learnt the domain automatically. Show VLAN brief. It's learnt about VLAN 2 and 3 automatically from a neighboring switch. So just be aware that if you're trying to get a switch to be entirely blank, it would be better to shut the ports down on the neighboring switches or to make them access ports so that the new switch doesn't learn VTP information dynamically. So in this case, brand new switch, show VTP status. Switch is a server, but it's learnt the VTP domain automatically from a neighboring switch. So again, be careful with VTP.